Solid minerals alongside the agricultural sector impressively sustained the Nigerian economy before the discovery of oil. Minerals such as tin, coal and gold yielded substantial foreign exchange earnings for the nation. However, the discovery of oil changed everything, and the solid minerals sector took a backseat. But the fall in oil prices has raised the question about the potential of other sectors to sustain Nigeria's economy. Our next report looks at the chances of the solid minerals sector playing the role in the coming year.
Nigeria is endowed with a wide range of minerals spread across the 36 states of the Federation, including the Federal Capital Territory. Nigeria used to be a major producer and exporter of solid minerals like tin, coal, and columbite, but that was before oil was discovered.
Nigeria was the 5th largest producer of tin in the world, with 9,500 tons per year. Today, we produce only 500 tons.
The major reason for this was the nationalization policy, where mining companies felt it is not good business to be in mining. Again, major companies, as mentioned earlier, departed from the country. The sector was neglected by successive governments.
Following predictions that the nation's oil will cease to exist someday soon, the federal government made efforts to revive the mining sector.
The fact that the minerals are spread across the country is a blessing, as every part of Nigeria can prosper from them. For example, the coal resource represents an excellent opportunity for us to diversify our energy stock. It's our intention that 30% of our electricity generation should come from coal.
Now, the oil and gas sector, which has been the mainstay of the nation's economy, is facing challenges as crude oil prices continue to fall. This trend has drawn attention to the potential of the once abandoned solid mineral sector.
Nigeria can become a very rich place with the kind of gold that is here if it can be well furnished and well cultivated in the right process. Opportunities.
Using statistics from the Nigeria Geological Survey Agency, Nigeria is endowed with about 34 commercially viable solid minerals, including 42 billion tons of bitumen deposit, 3 billion tons of coal reserves, over 3 billion metric tons of iron ore deposits, 40 million tons of talc, and an estimated 10 million tons of zinc. The solid mineral industry in Africa is the largest in the world, and many African countries depend on them for their economy. For instance, countries like Botswana, Sierra Leone, and the Democratic Republic of Congo depend on diamond, copper, and cobalt, while gold, iron ore, and aluminium account for 50% of the economies of Mozambique, Ghana, Namibia, and Zambia. According to the Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative audit report, the solid mineral sector in its infancy has contributed to the nation's gross domestic product by over 54 billion naira between 2007 and 2011. In 2011 alone, over 7 million metric tons of solid minerals valued at over 11 billion naira were exported.
Between 2002 and 2012, the Natural Resources Development Funds account had an accrual of about 873 billion naira. 873 billion naira in 10 years. What should the money be used for? Develop the solid minerals and other natural resources outside of the oil and gas. How much was expended? Over 700 billion. And how was it expended?
Question is, can solid minerals be the game changer in the face of falling oil price for Nigeria?
In answering your question on how solid mineral sector can assist government in revenue generation, government has to invest, of course, through the ministry.
Indeed, the fall in oil price is a reminder of the potentials of the neglected solid mineral sector. The federal government has been driving the reform to reposition the sector, but that may be coming too late if revenue from the sector is to be counted upon at a time like this. Paul Mwachko reporting for Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, Nigeria's economy in 2014 was marked with some levels of growth and development despite the drop in government revenue. The rebasing of the economy to government's efforts on diversification provided an avenue to withstand external shocks such as the drop in the price of oil in the international market. Correspondent Bolaji Akinwale takes a look at the economy in 2014.
The controversy surrounding the missing $20 billion from the coffers of government was a major highlight of the economy in 2014. President Goodluck Jonathan suspended the former central bank governor, Sanusi Lamido, for leaking news that billions of petrodollars went missing.
Out of $67 billion NMPC shipped, $47 billion has been repatriated to the central bank. Now what we're talking about is the balance of the $20 billion and what explanations have been given.
Sanusi was in turn accused of financial recklessness and misconduct. The former CBN governor was replaced by the deputy governor in charge of economic policy, Dr. Sarah Alade, who held sway for a short period.
During her period as acting governor, he essentially kept the boat steady on the steam and direction that Sanusi had. It was obviously she was acting, and it was clear that a new governor was going to be appointed by June.
In the first quarter, the rebasing of the economy made Nigeria the largest economy in Africa. It, however, slowed by 0.56% to 6.21% from 6.77% recorded in the fourth quarter of 2013. Efforts at diversifying the economy into agriculture is one move that was hailed by the organized private sector.
The government actually did well in terms of trying to diversify the economy. They've also taken a bold step to make sure that agriculture, they diversify into agriculture, particularly the key areas.
In the second quarter, Mr. Godwin Emefiele was appointed as the central bank governor. During this period, Mr. Emefiele introduced a number of reforms in the financial market, which impacted the foreign exchange market and other parts of the market. The monetary policy rate remained at 12% during this period and for most parts of the year. In the third quarter, the Nigerian economy grew by about 6.23% on aggregate basis. According to the central bank, the federal government recorded a deficit of 46.4 billion naira in its fiscal operations for the third quarter, compared to a 122.41 billion naira deficit recorded in the second quarter. This is owing to a shortfall in oil receipts. The continued slide in the prices of crude oil in the international markets led to the devaluation of the naira in the fourth quarter. The local units exchanged as high as 185 to the greenback. It's been an eventful year for the economy. Experts believe that if the government pays closer attention to the economy next year, the country may not feel the pressure of dwindling revenues. Then, it may be able to sustain the growth recorded so far. Bolaji Akinwale for Channels Television News.
And now, joining us on the news at 10 to discuss the economy in 2014 is Mr. Gabriel Idahosa, an economist. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us on the news at 10 tonight.
Thank you.
And compliments of the season.
Same to you.
Now, let's begin by me asking you what your view is overall of the Nigerian economy in 2014.
Well, it was good generally for the first half year. We did quite well. Then the second half year, it was downhill with the price of oil coming down. All the indices started coming down from the capital markets, the foreign exchange, the naira dollar value. And it was obvious that we were not prepared. It came largely as a shock. And so it was a year that was good up to June and not so good.
So what do you think of the country's handling of that drop in oil prices? Volatility in that sector happens often. What do you think of how the government handled it? Subsequently, the devaluation of the naira as a result of the slide.
Usually, the volatility is not of the scale that we find now. In 6 months, it came down from 115 to, we are now looking at 60, like 40, 45%. Usually, this kind of volatility will take a longer period. and most countries were taken by surprise. But what was certain was that prices would come down. In the last 4 or 5 years, it was clear that prices would come down. When exactly, we did not know.
And by how much?
And by how much.
Okay.
And what we did not do right was keeping our benchmark prices too high in the last 2 or 3 years when we're using 79, 73. That was when we would have prepared better by using much lower figures. It was sure that prices were going to come down because the shale oil and gas in America had been growing rapidly. And America had made a definite statement that they were going to become independent of oil from any other country.
But now with the 2015 budget submitted as is, the oil benchmark is still above $60 a barrel. What's your view on that?
Well, the finance minister is likely to come back to revise that budget.
Really?
It's very likely. The chances of getting beyond $65 next year are not looking very bright. We are likely to have something in the 60 to 65 range, and that means zero savings into the excess crude account. So it's very likely that we will do some revision of the budget at some point in 2015.
As you saw in our report earlier, looking at the solid minerals sector as something to buoy the economy, how realistic is this?
Medium term, yes. It's just that we are talking about things we should have done like 20, 25 years back. If we had done solid minerals, we've done our tourism, we've done our agriculture, we've done our entertainment industry, all these things that we have, if we had done them 20, 30 years ago, when oil was at 150, oil went as far as $147 per barrel. If we had done all these things at our own time, it would be a different situation. Now we are forced to do all the things we should have done, solid minerals, agriculture, services. We will have to do them now. It's late, but we have to do them.
Nigeria's economy was rebased this year. What do you think about the performance since then?
Well, part of why the performance is reading more green is that we are using a higher base. Okay. Because when you use $510 billion as your base, then you need to grow like 10% of that, which is $50 billion a year, for you to look good.
Wow.
But we cannot do that now with oil prices coming down. So the best projection for next year is like 5% GDP growth. And that is even hoping that we do certain things right, that we drive the other sectors of the economy, agriculture, for example, the services. We need to drive manufacturing. We need to substitute a lot of the goods that we import now. We need to, for example, become self-sufficient in rice and sugar and vegetable oil. We have the capacity, we have the systems in place, the investments are being done, but we need to fast-track all of this.
An important factor is the central bank. We saw the emergence of 3 governors, Dr. Sarah Alade, as well in an acting capacity. What do you think about the role that the current governor is playing?
The current governor, when he came in June, had the intention to drive growth and employment as a major policy thrust for his tenure. And he said he was going to take that as a major, as in fact the main focus, and maintain the macroeconomic stability that the previous governor has done. Now, you cannot do that without paying a price. If you want to grow the economy, you need to perhaps reduce interest rates so that the real sector, manufacturing, agriculture, can borrow at rates that are viable. Okay. So if you wanted to grow the economy, at this time we should be talking of reducing the rates. But when the oil price crashed, he had to increase the rates. And NPRO has gone up from 12 to 13. So he had the intention, but the storm that we have now means that he has to go back to the drawing board and see how he can revise his policies.
Finally, Nigerians are worried. Nigerians hear about the dwindling reserves in the excess crude account, and the finance minister has to come and say, oh, it's not as bad as it is painted, from some quarters. Finally, what should Nigerians think about the economy for next year?
Well,
is this going to be a good year?
The economy next year will be good in the sense that it will not be as bad as most of us are looking at it. It's not going to be a calamity because we are gradually becoming a non-oil economy. After the rebasing, the services sector is 51% of our economy. We found that good 51% of the economy is actually from services. So if we grow significantly our services, we grow agriculture, we will have some inconveniences. Foreign exchange will be what it is now, 180, but the other sectors will grow very fast. And at the end of 2015, we will have reduced our dependence on oil, and we will have adjusted to the reality of the fact that going forward, every state we have to raise much more internally generated revenue. That's going to take us through 2015.
Thank you so much, sir, for your insights.
Thank you.
I've been speaking with Mr. Gabriel Idehosa. He's an economist and very versed at that. We're going to take a break. Still ahead on the news at 10. Lack of adequate infrastructure hinders development of courier business in Nigeria. That will be on Business News. Do join us again.